48% of Americans claim Social Security at age 62. Research shows that over 90% of them just made the single worst financial decision of their retirement. We're talking about a mistake that costs the average retiree between $150,000 and $300,000 in lifetime benefits. Money that simply vanishes because of one irreversible choice made at the earliest possible moment. And here's what keeps me up at night. Most of these people have no idea what they've done. They clicked a button, felt relief, and locked themselves into decades of reduced income. That first deposit of $1,650 hit their account and felt like freedom, like validation, like they'd finally made it after years of hard work. But what they actually did was trigger a financial time bomb that will detonate slowly over the next 20 to 30 years, reducing their income by $1,050 every single month for the rest of their lives. What I find so deeply troubling about this situation is that it's not just affecting the retiree who made the decision. If they're married, they've also permanently reduced the survivor benefit their spouse will receive after they die. That widow or widower will spend their final years with a monthly check that's hundreds or even thousands of dollars less than it should have been, all because their spouse claimed 5 or 8 years too early. This isn't just about math on a spreadsheet. This is about real people, people like your parents or your neighbors, who are unknowingly locking themselves into decades of financial stress. It's about widows who discover too late that their deceased spouse's early claiming decision has left them struggling to pay for basic necessities. It's about the quiet desperation that builds year after year when your Social Security check doesn't quite cover your bills anymore, and you realize you can't undo what you did. Let me tell you, the journey to understanding why this happens and how to avoid this mistake reveals something profound about how Americans approach retirement and how a system designed to help us can inadvertently devastate us when we don't fully understand its mechanics. What I find particularly striking about Social Security claiming is how the system presents your options in a way that psychologically pushes you toward the wrong decision. When you look at your Social Security statement, you see three numbers. You can claim at 62 and receive, say, 1,750 per month. You can claim at your full retirement age of 67 and receive $12,500 per month. Or you can wait until 70 and receive $3,100 per month. To most people approaching retirement, that first number looks incredibly appealing. It's real money available right now when you're young enough to enjoy it. The difference between $117.50 and $2,500 doesn't seem that dramatic on a monthly basis. It's $750. That feels manageable. You think, I'll just be a bit more careful with my spending. But here's what the Social Security Administration doesn't show you clearly, and what I believe is the shocking truth that changes everything. Let's assume you're in reasonably good health and live to age 85, which is actually below the average life expectancy for a healthy 62-year-old today. If you claim at 62, you'll receive $1,250 per month for 276 months. That's a total of $483,000 over your lifetime. If you wait until 70, you'll receive $3,100 per month for 180 months. That's $558,000 total. The difference is $75,000. That's already substantial. But now let's consider what happens if you live to 90, which is increasingly common with modern medicine. Claim at 62 and you receive $1,750 for 336 months, totaling $588,000. Wait until 70 and you receive $3,100 for 240 months, totaling $744,000. The difference is now $156,000. And if you're fortunate enough to live to 95, the gap widens to over $230,000. This reminds me of the concept of compound interest, which Einstein allegedly called the eighth wonder of the world. But this isn't about growth, it's about the compounding effect of a bad decision. Every month that you receive the reduced benefit at 62 instead of the enhanced benefit at 70 is a month where you're losing $1,350. Multiply that by 12 months and you're losing $16,200 per year. Over a 25-year retirement, that's over $405,000 in foregone income. When I frame it this way, the decision suddenly looks very different, doesn't it? Now, I know what many of you are thinking because I hear this argument constantly. But what if I die before the break-even age? Then I would have been better off claiming early. This is the single most common rationalization for claiming at 62, and I want to address it head on because it reveals a fundamental misunderstanding of what Social Security actually is. The break-even age between claiming at 62 versus 70 is approximately 82 to 83 years old. What this means is that if you live past age 82 or 83, waiting until 70 will have given you more total dollars than claiming at 62. Many people look at this and think, well, I'm not sure I'll live that long, so I should claim early just in case. But here's what I find so fascinating about this logic. If you're a 62-year-old in reasonably good health today, your life expectancy isn't 78 or 80. According to Social Security Administration data, a man reaching age 65 has an average life expectancy of 84.3 years. A woman has an average life expectancy of 86.6 years. And these are averages, which means half of all people will live longer than this. If you're in good health, don't smoke, exercise regularly, and have good genes, your personal life expectancy could easily be 90 or beyond. What this means is that betting on dying before 83 is actually betting against the odds. You're making a decision based on the assumption that you'll be in the unlucky half of the population that dies earlier than average. That's not prudent planning. That's gambling with your retirement security. But even more fundamentally, this entire framing is wrong. Social Security isn't just about maximizing the total dollars you receive before you die. It's longevity insurance. It's protection against the risk of outliving your savings. Think about it this way. If you die at 80, you won't care that you could have received more money by claiming early because you won't be around to spend it anyway. But if you live to 92 and you claimed early, you'll spend your final decade of life with a monthly check that's $1,250 less than it could have been. You'll feel that shortage every single month when you're trying to pay for medications, housing, and care. This is reminiscent of what behavioral economists call loss aversion. People are more motivated to avoid losses than to achieve equivalent gains. The fear of losing benefits if you die early feels more powerful than the potential gain of higher lifetime benefits if you live long. But this emotional response leads to objectively poor financial decisions for the vast majority of people. What I believe is even more critical, and where the $300,000 mistake becomes truly devastating, is how early claiming affects married couples and surviving spouses. This is where the math becomes not just important, but potentially life-altering. Here's what you need to understand. When you claim Social Security, you're not just making a decision for yourself. If you're married, you're making a decision that will affect your spouse for the rest of their life. When one spouse dies, the surviving spouse receives the higher of the two benefits, not both benefits, the higher one. This means that if the higher earning spouse claims early, they're permanently reducing not only their own benefit, but also the survivor benefit their spouse will receive after they're gone. Let me walk you through a real scenario that I've seen play out dozens of times. A married couple, both age 62. The husband worked his entire career and has a full retirement age benefit of $3,000 per month. The wife worked part-time and has a full retirement age benefit of $200 per month. They're both healthy. They have $200,000 in savings but want to preserve that for emergencies. The husband claims at 62, receiving $20,100 per month instead of $3,000. The wife claims at 62, receiving $840 per month instead of $1,200. Their combined household income is $2,940 per month. They feel like they're doing okay. They're managing their bills, taking modest vacations, and enjoying early retirement. But then at age 78, the husband dies of a sudden heart attack. The wife is now 78 years old. she continues to receive the higher of the two benefits, which is the husband's reduced $2,100 per month. She loses her own $840 entirely. Her household income has dropped from $2,040 to $2,100, a 28.6% reduction, and this is locked in for the rest of her life. Now consider the alternative scenario. The husband waits until 70 to claim, receiving $3,620 per month. The wife claims at 62, receiving $840 per month. Yes, their early household income is lower. They're living on the wife's benefit plus their savings for those 8 years. But when the husband turns 70, their household income jumps to $4,560 per month. And critically, when the husband dies at 78, the wife continues to receive $30,620 per month instead of $2,100. From age 78 until her death at age 88, she receives an additional $1,620 per month compared to the first scenario. That's $19,440 per year. Over 10 years, that's $194,400 in additional income when she's alone, elderly, and most vulnerable. That's the real cost of the husband's early claiming decision. It's not just about his lifetime, it's about her survival after he's gone. What I find so heartbreaking about this scenario is how common it is. I've spoken with widows who are struggling financially not because their husband didn't plan, but because he claimed Social Security at 62 without understanding the permanent impact it would have on her survivor benefit. They thought they were doing the right thing. They thought they were securing their financial future, but that single decision has left her with a monthly income that doesn't cover her basic expenses. Now, as we sit here in early 2026, there are specific developments that make the claiming decision even more critical than it's ever been before. What I want you to understand is how recent policy changes and economic conditions have shifted the landscape in ways that amplify the cost of getting this decision wrong. First, Social Security received a 2.8% cost of living adjustment for 2026. This might sound modest, but here's the crucial detail. COLA increases are applied as a percentage of your benefit amount. If you claimed at 62 and locked in a reduced benefit of $1,650 per month, your 2.8% COLA gives you an additional $49 per month. But if you waited until 70 and received $3,100 per month, that same 2.8% COLA gives you an additional $86.80 per month. The gap between the early claimer and the late claimer just widened by $37.80 per month, or $453.60 per year. And this compounds every single year with future COLAs. Second, the full retirement age for people born in 1960 or later has increased to 67. This means that claiming at 62 now results in an even steeper reduction than it did for previous generations. You're taking benefits a full 5 years before full retirement age instead of 4 years. The reduction is now approximately 30% instead of 25%. The cost of claiming early has increased, yet many people approaching 62 don't realize this change has occurred. Third, if you're still working and claim benefits before full retirement age, you face the earnings limit. In 2026, if you earn more than 24,080, Social Security withholds $1 in benefits for every $2 you earn above that threshold. What this means is that many people who claim at 62 while still working part-time end up having their benefits reduced or eliminated entirely. They've locked in the permanent reduction, but they're not even receiving the money because of the earnings test. They've made the worst of both worlds decision. And fourth, Medicare costs continue to rise. As you age through your 60s and 70s, your healthcare expenses will increase substantially. Having a higher Social Security benefit becomes increasingly important as these costs eat into your fixed income. The extra $1,350 per month from waiting until 70 versus claiming at 62 can literally be the difference between affording your prescriptions or going without them. Let me address the most common reasons people give for claiming Social Security early, because I believe these justifications, while understandable, crumble under scrutiny. The Social Security system might go bankrupt, so I want to get my money now. This fear is widespread but misplaced. Even in the worst case scenario where the Social Security Trust Fund is depleted, currently projected for 2034, the system would still be able to pay approximately 77% of scheduled benefits from ongoing payroll taxes. It wouldn't disappear. Benefits would be reduced, but they would still exist. And crucially, benefit reductions would affect everyone proportionally. If you claimed early and locked in a reduced benefit, you'd still receive less than someone who waited, even after system-wide cuts. I want to enjoy the money while I'm young enough to travel and be active. I hear this constantly, and I understand the emotional appeal. But the reality is that most people are physically capable of travel and activity well into their 70s and beyond. The trade-off is enjoying slightly more money in your 60s versus having significantly more money in your 80s when your healthcare costs are higher and you're more financially vulnerable. You're trading security for immediate gratification. I need the income now because I lost my job or can't work anymore. This is the one scenario where early claiming might be necessary, but even here, I urge people to exhaust other options first. Can you reduce expenses? Can you tap into retirement savings temporarily? Can you take out a loan or sell assets? Because the lifetime cost of claiming early is so high, it's often worth experiencing short-term financial stress to avoid it. That said, if you genuinely have no other options, then claiming early is what you must do, but do it consciously, understanding the cost. I'll invest the difference and come out ahead. Some people argue they'll claim early, invest the money, and the returns will more than make up for the reduced benefit. The math rarely works. To break even, you'd need to consistently earn returns that exceed the guaranteed 8% annual increase you get from delaying Social Security from 67 to 70. After taxes, investment fees, and the reality that retirees typically invest conservatively, this almost never happens. You're taking on investment risk and complexity to try to beat a guaranteed 8% return. It doesn't make sense. Let me be very direct about the steps you need to take immediately if you're approaching retirement age or have already claimed benefits. If you're 62 or approaching 62 and haven't claimed yet, seriously question the impulse to claim early. Get your Social Security statement from SSA.gov and look at the benefit estimates at different ages. Calculate what your lifetime benefits would be at 62, 67, and 70 under different longevity scenarios. Unless you have serious health problems or absolutely no other income options, make a plan to wait. If you're married, this is critical. Coordinate your claiming strategy with your spouse. The general rule is that the higher earning spouse should wait as long as possible to maximize the survivor benefit. The lower earning spouse can claim earlier to provide household income. This strategy can increase your combined lifetime benefits by $100,000 to $200,000 or more. If you've already claimed early and regret it, there are limited options. If you claimed within the past 12 months, you can withdraw your application, repay all benefits received, and file again later. This is called a do-over, and it's only available once. If you've been receiving benefits for more than 12 months, you're generally locked in. However, if you continue working and reach full retirement age, you can suspend your benefits until age 70 to earn delayed retirement credits. Your benefit will increase by 8% per year during the suspension. If you're still working in your 60s, be very careful about the earnings limit. If you claim before full retirement age and earn more than $24,480 in 2026, you'll lose benefits. It's almost always better to wait until at least your full retirement age if you're still earning substantial income. If you're in poor health, this is the one scenario where claiming early might make sense. If you have serious health conditions and a limited life expectancy, getting benefits now could be the right choice. But be honest and realistic about your health. Don't use minor health issues as an excuse to claim early when you're likely to live a normal lifespan. What I want to leave you with is an understanding of why this mistake is so common and what it reveals about retirement planning in America. The Social Security claiming decision is the single largest financial choice most retirees will make, yet the vast majority receive little to no guidance on it. Financial advisors often focus on investment portfolios and ignore Social Security optimization. The Social Security Administration provides information but doesn't offer personalized advice. This creates an information vacuum that gets filled with fear, conventional wisdom, and emotional reasoning. People claim early because everyone they know claimed early. They claim because they're afraid of dying and losing benefits. They claim because they don't understand the math and the system doesn't actively intervene to stop them from making a decision that will cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars. What I find so troubling is that this represents a fundamental failure of financial literacy and retirement planning infrastructure in America. We require people to make complex, irreversible decisions with massive financial consequences, but we don't ensure they have the tools, knowledge, or support to make those decisions well. The $300,000 mistake isn't just about Social Security claiming, it's about a system that allows people to harm themselves financially through ignorance. It's about the gap between the complexity of retirement planning and the average person's ability to navigate it. And it's about the human tendency to prioritize immediate gratification over long term security, even when the stakes are this high. For the majority of Americans, the right answer is clear. Wait as long as you can to claim Social Security, ideally until age 70. Use other resources to bridge the gap. Coordinate with your spouse. Think about survivor benefits. Plan for longevity, not early death. The difference isn't just about dollars, it's about security, dignity, and peace of mind in your final decades of life. Don't let the $300,000 mistake define your retirement.